On the best of the rest of the news. We're going to do this the old-fashioned Walter Cronkite way here. The Financial Times is reporting that European lawmakers are working hard to push through legislation for more regulatory oversight of hedge fund managers in the hedge fund industry, despite Britain's new government begging them to hold off. The French and Germans, not to mention the Greeks, have had it with a few dozen banksters in New York City and London using naked CDO swaps as bets against European countries' treasuries, their debt, with nothing to back up those bets. The banksters have been playing heads I win, tails you lose ever since Phil and Wendy Graham, with the help of Bill Clinton and Newt Gingrich, blew open Wall Street in 1999 and 2000, turning it into a giant legalized casino. Banksters in London and New York have extracted hundreds of billions of dollars and British pounds from investors over the past few years, sucking that money out of our economy, putting it in their own pockets, and they want to keep robbing us with these legalized betting schemes. American and British politicians are now so addicted to their cash that they're afraid to stop them. So the job falls to the Germans and the French, who are saying that they're going to do it. Pray for the success of these nations in stopping this cancer on our economies. NPR reported that their analysis of seafloor video of the volcanic spill may be showing that actually 70,000 barrels a day are gushing out of that oil leak. That's almost 10 times the Coast Guard's first estimate of the spill, and the equivalent of one Exxon Valdez tanker almost twice a week. No one really knows where it is or where it's headed, the spill, although both BP and the U.S. military are spraying hundreds of thousands of gallons of incredibly toxic chemicals in the Gulf to try to dissolve this oil and disperse it down into the deep ocean waters where it's not visible to TV cameras. What they should be doing is spraying on a coagulant to clot it up into giant tar balls and then mechanically harvest the tar-like compound. But while that protects wildlife and the environment, it makes for lousy photo ops. Actually, great photo ops from the point of view of the news organizations, but lousy from the point of view of the government and the oil companies. There's never been an oil spill this huge or this deep before, and toxic chemical dispersants have never, ever been used this widely. Welcome to the new Gulf Coast, one great science experiment brought to you by greed and profits. A bill to expand the liability cap for oil spills from $75 million to $10 billion went down in defeat yesterday, or actually was just stopped dead in its tracks, by Alaskan Senator Lisa Murkowski, the wholly oil industry owned Republican senator from Alaska. Murkowski, a drilling supporter, raised $400,000 in campaign contributions from the oil and gas industry. Edmund Conway of the Telegraph, the British newspaper, is reporting that Mervyn King, governor of the Bank of England, fears that America shares many of the same fiscal problems currently haunting England. He also believes that the European Union must become a confederated fiscal union. In other words, they'd have the power to tax and to spend money, not just issue a united currency, if it's to survive. Just two of the nuggets from one of the most extraordinary press conferences ever seen at that federal bank. That was the governor of the Bank of England. Indiana's GOP Senate candidate Dan Coats has endorsed Paul Ryan's plan to privatize Social Security and hack away at Medicare. In January, Congressman Ryan, the Republican from Wisconsin, who Glenn Beck says he loves, released his Roadmap for America's Future, which would eliminate long-term deficits by essentially privatizing Medicare and Social Security, handing us off to the tender mercies of Goldman Sachs and United Healthcare, and placing arbitrary, non-specific freezes on all non-discretionary spending. In an analysis of Congressman Ryan's Roadmap for America's Future plan, the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities said Ryan's plan, quote, would result in a massive transfer of resources from the broad majority of Americans to the nation's wealthiest individuals. Gee, what a surprise coming from a Republican. In strange news, Senator Orrin Hatch, the Republican from Utah, sat down with Supreme Court nominee Elena Kagan in his office this week and proudly pointed to a gun hanging on his wall. Here's how the conversation went. Hatch told Kagan, "You're going to get mad. There's Man of the Year from the American Rifle Association." National Rifle Association, Kagan looks and says, "It's beautiful." Hatch continues to describe his firearm. "It's a piece of art, really, handmade flintlock." Kagan says, "It's gorgeous." Why couldn't Hatch just drop his pants, flasher, and get this whole, male phallic thing over with? Anyhow, and that's the way it is today, Friday, May 14th, 2010. Thom Hartmann here on the news.